I never thought my own family would throw me out like trash. But there I was, standing in my father's living room on his 65th birthday, watching my brother Michael raise his champagne glass and announce to everyone that I was about to lose my home. "Pack your bags, loser," he said with this smug grin that made my stomach turn. "This house is going up for sale." The room erupted. Cheers. Laughter. Glasses clinking together like some kind of celebration. My aunts, my uncles, cousins I'd known my entire life, they were all looking at me like I was the punchline to a joke I didn't understand. My father sat in his leather armchair, the one he'd occupied every evening for as long as I could remember, and he wasn't saying a single word. Just staring at his cake like it was the most interesting thing in the world. I felt my throat close up. My hands started shaking. "Michael, what are you talking about?" I managed to get out, but my voice sounded small. Weak. He took a long sip of champagne, deliberately slow, making me wait. "Dad's moving to Arizona with Brenda." He gestured toward the woman standing next to my father, this blonde stranger who'd appeared in our lives 6 months ago. "And since this house is in his name, well..." He shrugged. "It's his decision what happens to it." "But I live here," I said. The words came out desperate, and I hated how I sounded. "I've been taking care of Dad. I've been paying half the bills. I renovated the entire second floor with my own money, should have gotten that in writing, sis." Michael's smile got wider. "Meaner. Dad can do whatever he wants with his property." I looked at my father. Really looked at him. Waiting for him to say something. To tell Michael to shut up. To tell everyone this was a misunderstanding. He picked up his fork and took a bite of cake. That's when I knew. This wasn't a surprise to him. This was planned. My Aunt Carol, Dad's sister, actually started clapping. Finally. "Emma, honey, you're 32 years old. It's time you got your own place anyway. You can't live with Daddy forever." I wasn't living with Daddy, I said, and now my voice had an edge to it. I was taking care of him after his stroke. I left my job in Seattle. I moved across the country. "I've been here for 3 years, and we're very grateful," Brenda cut in, her voice syrupy sweet. She put her hand on my father's shoulder like she owned him. "But your father deserves to enjoy his retirement. We've found a beautiful community in Scottsdale. The weather will be so much better for his health." I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip the birthday cake onto the floor. But I just stood there, frozen, while everyone went back to their conversations like they hadn't just destroyed my entire life. Michael walked past me to get more champagne. As he did, he leaned in close. "You always thought you were Dad's favorite," he whispered. "Guess you were wrong." That's when I walked outside. If you're enjoying this so far, don't forget to like this video and watch till the end. I'd love to hear your thoughts. The night air hit my face, cold and sharp. It was October, and the leaves were already falling. I could hear the party continuing inside, music, laughter, the sound of people having a good time while my world collapsed. I sat down on the porch steps, the same steps I'd sat on as a kid, waiting for Dad to come home from work. The same steps where he'd taught me to tie my shoes. Where he'd told me Mom had cancer. Where I'd cried after my divorce 2 years ago, and he'd sat next to me and promised that I always had a home here. Apparently, promises meant nothing. I pulled out my phone. My hands were still shaking, but I managed to scroll through my contacts until I found the name I was looking for. David Chen. Real estate attorney. We'd gone to high school together, stayed friends over the years. He owed me a favor from when I'd designed his wife's boutique website for free. I called him. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Emma? It's like 9 o'clock on a Saturday night. This better be good. David, I need you to look something up for me. Right now." Something in my voice must have told him this wasn't a casual call. What's going on? My father's house. The property on Maple Street. Can you tell me whose name is actually on the deed? There was a pause. Keyboard clicking. Give me a minute. I waited. Inside, someone turned the music up louder. I could hear Michael's laugh, loud and obnoxious, probably telling some story about his latest business deal. Michael, who lived in a downtown condo and hadn't visited Dad once during his stroke recovery. Michael, who'd missed every single doctor's appointment, every physical therapy session, every middle-of-the-night emergency room visit. Okay, David said. I'm looking at the county records. Property at 847 Maple Street. Purchased in 1992 by Robert and Catherine Walsh. Right. My parents. But here's the interesting part. After your mother passed, that was 2008, right? 2009, after she passed, the deed was updated. It's currently held in a family trust. The Robert Walsh Family Trust, established 2010. And according to this. More clicking. The trust names two beneficiaries. Robert Walsh and Emma Catherine Walsh. That's you? My heart started pounding. What does that mean? It means you're a 50% owner of that property. Your father can't sell it without your consent. He can't even list it without your signature. I stood up. The porch seemed to tilt under my feet. You're sure? I'm looking at the legal documents right now. Your mother set this up before she died, probably to protect you. Did you know about this? No. I had no idea. Well, now you do. Emma, if your father is trying to sell that house without telling you, he's about to have a serious legal problem. You want me to draft a cease and desist? I thought about Michael's face. That smug, satisfied grin. I thought about my father, sitting in his chair, saying nothing while everyone laughed at me. I thought about Brenda, this stranger, acting like she had any right to make decisions about my family's home. Yes, I said. Draft it. Send it to my email. I'll forward you the details. You got it. Emma, are you okay? I will be. I hung up and walked back inside. The party was in full swing. Someone had brought out another bottle of champagne. Brenda was showing my Aunt Carol pictures on her phone, probably the Arizona retirement community. My father was smiling now, actually engaged in conversation with his brother Tom. I walked straight to Michael. He was standing by the fireplace, talking to our cousin Jake about some investment opportunity. Michael, I said. Can I talk to you for a second? He rolled his eyes. Jesus, Emma, don't be dramatic. You'll find a place. Maybe it's time you finally grew up and the house is in a family trust. Mom set it up before she died. I'm a 50% owner. Dad can't sell without my permission. The color drained from his face. What? You heard me. Jake, smart guy, immediately found somewhere else to be. Michael grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in hard enough to hurt. You're lying. Call the county recorder's office on Monday if you don't believe me. Or better yet, ask Dad if he forgot to mention that tiny little detail before you threw your party. I pulled my arm free and walked over to my father. He looked up at me, and for just a second, I saw something in his eyes. Guilt, maybe. Or fear. Then it was gone, replaced by the blank expression he'd perfected since Brenda came into his life. Emma, he said. Sweetheart, let's talk about this reasonably. Did you know? I asked. My voice was steady now. Clear. Did you know that Mom put the house in both our names? He shifted in his chair. It's complicated. It's a yes or no question, Dad. Brenda stood up. Emma, your father has every right to, I'm not talking to you, I said, not even looking at her. Dad. Did you know? He wouldn't meet my eyes. Your mother had her reasons for setting things up the way she did. But things change. I'm entitled to make decisions about my future. Our future, I corrected. It's our house. Not just yours. Michael appeared next to me. This is bullshit. Mom wouldn't have done that without telling us. She told me, my Aunt Carol said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She was standing by the window, holding her wine glass like a shield. Katie told me what she was doing. She was worried about what would happen to Emma if Robert remarried. She wanted to make sure Emma would always have a home. The room went silent. You knew? My father's voice was sharp. Angry. You knew and you didn't tell me? Aunt Carol lifted her chin. Katie asked me not to. She said you'd understand eventually. Guess she was wrong about that. My father stood up, moving faster than I'd seen him move in months. That house is mine. I don't care what some legal document says. I'm her father. I built that house. I paid for it. With Mom's inheritance, I said. Half the down payment came from Grandma Dorothy's estate. Remember? Or did you forget that part too? His face turned red. Don't you dare, Mr. Walsh. David's voice came from the doorway. I hadn't even heard him come in. He must have driven straight over. I'm David Chen, Ms. Walsh's attorney. I'd advise you to be very careful about your next words. The party was definitely over now. People were grabbing coats, making excuses, hurrying toward the door. Nobody wanted to be part of a family legal battle. Michael pointed at David. Who the hell are you? I just told you. I'm representing Emma's interests in this matter. And I have to inform you that any attempt to sell, list, or otherwise dispose of the property at 847 Maple Street without Ms. Walsh's written consent would constitute fraud. I've already prepared the necessary injunctions. Brenda grabbed her purse. Robert, I think we should go. You're not going anywhere, I said. Not to her. To my father. You're going to sit down and explain to me how you thought this was going to work. You were just going to sell my home out from under me? Pocket the money and move to Arizona like I never existed? You're being selfish, Michael said. Dad deserves to be happy. I spent 3 years taking care of him. The words came out loud, louder than I meant them to. 3 years. I gave up my career. I gave up my apartment in Seattle. I was here every single day. Physical therapy. Doctor appointments. Meals. Medications. I bathed him when he couldn't do it himself. I slept on the floor next to his bed when he was afraid he'd have another stroke in the night. Where were you, Michael? Where were you when he needed someone? Michael's jaw clenched. I was working. Building a business. Someone had to what? Make money? I had money. I had a good job. I gave it up. For him. I pointed at my father. And you. I turned to Michael. You didn't even call. Not once during those first 3 months when we didn't know if he'd ever walk again. That's not fair, you sent a fruit basket. 1 fruit basket. To the hospital. That's it. The room was empty now except for the 5 of us, me, Dad, Michael, Brenda, and David. Aunt Carol had disappeared into the kitchen, probably calling other family members to fill them in on the drama. My father sat back down. He looked old suddenly. Tired. The angry red color had faded from his face, leaving him pale and small in his big leather chair. Emma, he said quietly. I didn't mean to hurt you. Then what did you mean to do? He glanced at Brenda. She gave him this look, encouraging, supportive. The kind of look that made my skin crawl because I knew it was calculated. I want to start over, he said. Fresh. Somewhere warm. Somewhere I can forget about. He gestured vaguely. All of this. All of what? Your life? Your family? Me? The memories, Brenda said softly. This house has so many painful memories. Your mother's death. The stroke. It's not healthy for Robert to stay here. He could have talked to me, I said. He could have asked. We could have figured something out together. Would you have agreed to sell? Michael challenged. I don't know. Maybe. But I deserved to be part of the conversation. I deserved respect. Not to be blindsided at a birthday party like some kind of joke. David stepped forward. Mr. Walsh, I'd like to propose that we schedule a formal meeting. You, your attorney, Emma, and myself. We can discuss the options legally available to you. But I want to be very clear, any attempt to proceed with a sale without Emma's consent will result in immediate legal action. My father looked at me. Really looked at me. And I saw it then, he wasn't confused. He wasn't sorry. He was angry that his plan had fallen apart. Fine, he said. Set up your meeting. But Emma, you need to understand something. I'm leaving. With or without this house. I'm going to Arizona. I'm starting my life with Brenda. And you can either accept that or not. I accept that you're leaving, I said. My voice was steady now. Calm. What I don't accept is being treated like I'm disposable. Like everything I did for you meant nothing. He didn't respond. Just turned to Brenda and said, let's go upstairs. I'm tired. They left. Michael stood there for another moment, glaring at me like this was somehow my fault. You just ruined Dad's birthday, he said. No, I replied. You did. When you decided to humiliate me in front of everyone. He grabbed his coat and walked out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. David waited until we heard Michael's car start before he spoke. You okay? I laughed. It came out shaky, borderline hysterical. No. Not even a little bit. You did the right thing. Standing up for yourself. Then why do I feel like the villain? Because they wanted you to feel that way. Emma, I've seen situations like this before. People like your brother, they count on you not fighting back. They count on you being too scared or too guilty to protect yourself. I sank down onto the couch. The same couch where my mother and I used to watch movies. Where Dad and I played chess. Where I'd spent countless evenings reading while he did crossword puzzles. What happens now? I asked. Now you decide what you want. You have options. You could force the sale and take your half. You could buy out your father's share. You could refuse to sell entirely. Or you could negotiate something different. But Emma, and this is important, you need to figure out what you actually want. Not what they want. Not what's easiest. What do you want? I looked around the house. The photos on the mantel. The scratches on the hardwood floor from when we got our first dog. The pencil marks on the doorframe where Mom had measured Michael and me every birthday. This was my home. It had been my home for 32 years. But did I want to stay here? In a house full of ghosts? In a house where my father had just told me I meant less to him than a fresh start with a woman he'd known for 6 months? I don't know, I admitted. That's okay. You have time to figure it out. But in the meantime, don't let them bully you. And don't make any decisions based on guilt. He left me his card, made me promise to call him in the morning, and showed himself out. I sat there in the silence. The birthday cake was still on the dining table, half eaten. Dirty plates and champagne glasses everywhere. Proof that an hour ago, this had been a celebration. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael, "You're going to regret this." I deleted it without responding. Then another text. This one from Aunt Carol, "Your mother would be proud of you. Call me tomorrow." I set my phone down and walked through the house. Really walked through it, like I was seeing it for the first time. The kitchen where Mom taught me to bake. The breakfast nook where we had family dinners every Sunday. The staircase where I'd taken prom photos. My bedroom, still decorated with posters from high school because I'd never bothered to change it. The master bedroom where my mother died. I stopped outside the door. I hadn't been in there since Dad redecorated. Since he'd painted over the soft blue walls Mom had loved and replaced her furniture with new stuff. Since he'd erased her. I pushed the door open. It looked like a hotel room. Neutral colors. Generic art. Nothing personal. Brenda's perfume hung in the air, expensive and cloying. On the dresser, there was a framed photo of Dad and Brenda in front of the Grand Canyon. They looked happy. Carefree. There were no photos of Mom. No photos of Michael or me. I picked up the frame. Looked at my father's face, smiling wider than I'd seen him smile in years. And I realized something. He wasn't leaving because he wanted to start fresh. He was leaving because he was running. Running from the guilt of surviving when Mom didn't. Running from the memories of being weak and helpless after his stroke. Running from the daughter who'd seen him at his lowest and reminded him of everything he wanted to forget. I put the photo back, face down, and walked out. In my room, I opened my laptop. I had emails from the Seattle design firm where I used to work. They'd been asking me for months if I'd be interested in some freelance projects. I'd said no every time because I was too busy taking care of Dad. I started typing responses. Yes, I'm interested. Yes, I'm available. Yes, let's discuss rates. Then I opened a new browser tab and searched for apartments in Seattle. My old life. The life I'd put on hold. The life I could go back to. But something stopped me from clicking on the listings. Some feeling in my chest that I couldn't quite name. I looked around my childhood room. At the bookshelf Dad built for my 10th birthday. At the desk where I'd done my homework. At the window where I used to sneak out to meet friends. This was my home. More than it was his, in some ways. He was ready to abandon it, but I'd poured 3 years of my life into keeping it alive. I deserved it. The thought came clear and sharp, like breaking through fog. I deserved this house. Not because of the legal trust. Not because Mom wanted me to have it. Because I'd earned it. With sleepless nights and emergency room visits and endless patience. With my time, my money, my love. And I wasn't going to let them take it from me. I closed the apartment listings and opened a new document. Started making notes. Plans. If they wanted a fight, I'd give them one. But I wasn't going to be cruel. I wasn't going to be petty. I was going to be smart. And when this was over, they were going to understand exactly what they'd lost. I worked until 3 in the morning. Making lists. Researching. Planning. When I finally fell asleep, I dreamed about my mother. She was sitting on the porch steps, the way she used to, drinking coffee and watching the sunrise. In the dream, she turned to me and smiled. "You've got this, baby girl," she said. "You've always got this." I woke up with tears on my face and steel in my spine. It was time to remind my family who Emma Walsh really was. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls. 12 from Michael. 5 from numbers I didn't recognize. 0 from my father. I ignored them all and made coffee. The house felt different in the daylight. Bigger somehow. Emptier. The party debris was still everywhere, evidence of last night's disaster. I should have cleaned it up, but I didn't. Let Dad and Brenda deal with it when they came downstairs. If they came downstairs. I took my coffee out to the porch and sat on the steps. It was cold, that kind of October morning where you can see your breath, but I didn't care. I needed the clarity that cold air brings. My phone buzzed again. This time I looked. A text from David, got 3 calls from a lawyer named Richard Pemberton claiming to represent your father. Haven't responded yet. Waiting for your direction. So Dad had hired an attorney. That was fast. I texted back, good. Let him call. Don't engage yet. Need to think strategy first. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, you're not seriously considering fighting this, are you? Why wouldn't I? Because it's your father. Because family court battles are brutal and expensive and emotionally devastating. Because even if you win legally, you lose something else. I stared at that message for a long time. He wasn't wrong. I knew what these things looked like. I'd watched my college roommate go through a estate battle with her siblings after their mother died. It destroyed them. They didn't speak for years. Maybe still didn't. But what was the alternative? Roll over? Let Michael and Dad walk all over me? Prove that I was exactly what they thought I was, weak, dependent, disposable? I'm not rolling over, I typed. But I'm not attacking either. There's a middle path. I just need to find it. Before David could respond, I heard the front door open. Dad's voice, low and tense, where is she? Brenda's higher pitch, probably still sleeping. She was always a late sleeper. They didn't know I was outside. I could hear them moving around the kitchen, cleaning up. The clink of glasses. Running water. I can't believe Katie did this, Dad said. After everything. She knew I'd want to make my own decisions. She was controlling, Brenda said simply. Some women are like that. They want to run everything even from the grave. I felt anger flash hot through my chest. My mother hadn't been controlling. She'd been protective. There was a difference. I just want to move on, Dad said. He sounded tired. Old. Is that so terrible? Wanting to be happy again? Of course not, baby. You deserve happiness. And we'll figure this out. Emma's just being stubborn. She'll come around. You don't know her like I do. When she digs her heels in. He trailed off. She's just like Katie that way. Stubborn as hell. I smiled despite myself. Yeah, I was. And proud of it. Well, Brenda said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. Then we'll just have to be more stubborn. She's one person, Robert. We're a team. Michael thinks we should offer her money. Buy out her share. With what money? Your retirement account? That's supposed to fund our life in Arizona. I know, but no. If anyone should be offering money, it should be her. She's the one blocking the sale. Let her figure out how to buy you out. Silence. Then Dad, I hadn't thought of it that way. That's because you're too generous. Too willing to give. But Emma's a grown woman. She has a career, or she did before she came back here. If she wants the house so badly, let her pay for it. I stood up. My coffee cup was shaking in my hand. I set it down on the step before I could drop it. They wanted me to buy them out. They wanted me to drain my savings, probably go into debt, to keep the home I already legally owned half of. The home I'd maintained. The home I'd poured money into for renovations they now wanted to profit from. The ball's on these people. I walked around to the front door and let myself in loudly. Wanted them to know I was there. They were both in the kitchen. Dad at the table with his coffee, Brenda loading the dishwasher. They looked up when I entered, and I saw it, the momentary flash of guilt on Dad's face before he covered it with neutrality. "Good morning," I said pleasantly. "Morning, sweetheart." Dad's voice was cautious. "Sleep okay?" "Great, actually." "You?" "Fine, fine." He cleared his throat. "Listen, about last night, let's not do this right now," I interrupted. "I have some calls to make. But we should probably schedule that meeting David mentioned. You, me, our lawyers. Figure out what comes next." Brenda turned from the dishwasher. "Emma, I hope you know this isn't personal. We're not trying to hurt you." I looked at her. Really looked at her. She was pretty, I'd give her that. Probably 50, but one of those women who took care of herself. Good skin. Expensive highlights. Diamond earrings that caught the morning light. She looked like money. Like someone used to getting what she wanted. "Of course it's not personal," I said sweetly. "Just business, right?" Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "Exactly." "Great. Then you won't mind if I treat it the same way." I left them there and went upstairs to my room. Locked the door. Pulled out my laptop. It was time to do some research. First, I looked up Brenda Mitchell. That was her name, though she'd been using Brenda Walsh lately, even though they weren't married yet. Facebook profile, recently divorced. 3 grown children. Lived in Phoenix before moving here 6 months ago. Lots of photos of expensive vacations. Designer handbags. Country club events. LinkedIn, no job listed. Lifestyle consultant in her bio, whatever that meant. I dug deeper. Found her ex-husband's name, Gerald Mitchell. Prominent businessman in Phoenix. Their divorce had been finalized 8 months ago. Right around the time Brenda started dating my dad. I searched for news articles. Found one from the Phoenix Business Journal about the divorce. High-profile split. Contentious. There was a quote from Gerald, "I wish Brenda well in her future endeavors, though I'm disappointed by her choice to pursue relationships with vulnerable individuals in her social circle." Vulnerable individuals. I sat back. Thought about the timeline. Dad's stroke was a year ago. He'd been at a cardiac rehab facility in Arizona for a month. His doctor had recommended the warm climate. That's where he met Brenda. She'd been volunteering there. Or so she'd said. I kept searching. Found more about Gerald Mitchell. His company. His assets. Then I found something interesting, a court filing from the divorce proceedings. Brenda had sought a significant portion of his estate, claiming she'd sacrificed her career to support his business. The judge had disagreed, noting that Brenda had never been employed during their marriage and had contributed no financial support to the household. She'd walked away with the Arizona house and a modest settlement. Not the millions she'd been hoping for. But she needed money. And here was my father, widowed, recovering from a stroke, inheriting a valuable property, emotionally vulnerable. Perfect target. I took screenshots. Downloaded documents. Saved everything to a folder. Then I searched property records for our house. The estimated value had been updated last month. $850,000. The neighborhood had gentrified over the past decade. What my parents had bought for $200,000 was now worth 4 times that. Half of that was mine. $425,000. But more than the money, I realized something else. This house, in this neighborhood, was exactly the kind of asset someone like Brenda would want access to. Sell it, pocket the cash, use it to fund the Arizona lifestyle she'd been trying to maintain. My phone rang. Michael. I answered. What? We need to talk. I'm listening. not on the phone. In person. Can you meet me for lunch? I checked the time. Almost 10. Where? That Italian place on 4th Street. Noon. Fine. He hung up without saying goodbye. Typical Michael. I spent the next hour getting ready. Not just showering and dressing, but preparing. I printed out documents. Made more notes. Organized my research into a neat folder. If Michael thought he could bully me over pasta, he had another thing coming. The restaurant was busy when I arrived. Sunday lunch crowd. Families. Couples. I spotted Michael in a corner booth, already halfway through a beer. He didn't stand up when I approached. Just gestured to the seat across from him. You're late, he said. I'm exactly on time. You're early. A waitress came over. I ordered water and a salad. Michael ordered another beer and the most expensive steak on the menu. Of course. So, he said after she left. You want to explain what the hell you were thinking last night? I was thinking I didn't appreciate being ambushed. Ambushed? Jesus, Emma, you're so dramatic. We were just trying to help Dad make a fresh start. By throwing me out of my home. It's not your home. It's Dad's house. He raised you there, sure, but you're an adult now. You should have your own place. I folded my hands on the table. Kept my voice level. Michael, did you know about the trust? He shifted. What trust? Don't play dumb. Did you know that Mom put the house in both my and Dad's names? That I own half of it? That's not, he stopped. Started again. That doesn't matter. The intent was obviously that Dad would have control. The intent was that I would be protected. There's a difference. From what? Dad's not going to screw you over. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Really? Because it seemed like that's exactly what he was trying to do. Michael's jaw tightened. He deserves to enjoy his retirement. He shouldn't have to worry about you living in his house forever. I wasn't living there forever. I was taking care of him. And I've been paying rent, by the way. Did he tell you that? I've been giving him $1,000 a month for the past year. I've paid for groceries, utilities, maintenance. I've put $15,000 into renovations that you should have gotten in writing. I shouldn't have needed to. He's my father. I trusted him. People were starting to look. I lowered my voice. Listen, Michael said. He leaned forward, dropping the aggressive posture. I get it. You're upset. But let's be practical here. Dad wants to move. He can't do that unless the house sells. And you blocking the sale just hurts everyone. So what do you suggest? Let the house sell. Take your half of the proceeds. That's $400,000, Emma. That's more than enough to start over. Get your own place. Hell, move back to Seattle. Restart your career. And what does Dad get? His half. Obviously. Which he'll spend on his new life with Brenda. That's his right. Absolutely. Just like it's my right to say no to the sale. The waitress brought our food. Michael waited until she left before speaking again. You're being selfish, he said quietly. You know that, right? You're putting your feelings ahead of Dad's happiness. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. From what? You keep saying that. Protected from what? I pulled out my phone. Opened the folder with my research. Showed him the article about Brenda's divorce. He read it. His expression didn't change. So what, he said. She's divorced. So are you. So am I. Read the quote from her ex-husband. He did. I watched his face carefully. Vulnerable individuals, I said. Sound familiar? Dad's a widower. Recovering from a stroke. Inheriting a valuable property. And suddenly here's Brenda, this woman who just got out of a failed marriage where she tried and failed to take her ex for millions. A woman who needs money. And she just happens to fall in love with our father right when he's at his most vulnerable. Michael set the phone down. You're reaching. Am I? How much do you actually know about her? Enough. She makes Dad happy. That's what matters. Does she? Or does she make him feel young and wanted again? There's a difference. He took a long drink of beer. You know what your problem is, Emma? You never moved on from Mom. You're still stuck in the past. And you can't stand that Dad isn't. The words hit harder than I expected. I felt my throat tighten. That's not true. Isn't it? You kept Mom's garden exactly the way she left it. You didn't change anything in the house except your room. You've been living in a shrine for 3 years. I was taking care of Dad, you were hiding. From your divorce. From your failed career. From life. And now Dad's moving forward, and you can't handle it. I wanted to throw my water in his face. I wanted to scream. But I just sat there, forcing myself to breathe. You're wrong, I said quietly. About all of it. But I'm not going to argue with you. Then what are you going to do? I'm going to protect my interests. Legally and fairly. If Dad wants to leave, fine. He can leave. But he doesn't get to take everything with him. What does that mean? It means I'm not agreeing to the sale. Not yet. Not until we've had a proper conversation. All of us. With lawyers present. And we figure out something that's fair to everyone. Michael pushed his plate away. He hadn't touched his steak. Fair to everyone? You mean fair to you? I mean fair, I repeated. Dad gets to move if he wants. I get to keep my home if I want. We figure out a solution that doesn't require either of us to sacrifice everything. There is no solution like that. Either the house sells or it doesn't. Then I guess it doesn't. He stood up abruptly. Threw 2 20s on the table. You're making a huge mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. He walked out without another word. Left me sitting there with my untouched salad and his uneaten steak. The waitress came over, concerned. Is everything okay? Fine, I said. Can I get boxes for both of these? And the check? I drove home slowly, thinking. Processing. Michael's words kept echoing in my head. You never moved on from Mom. Was he right? Was I holding on to the past? I thought about the house. About why I really wanted to keep it. Was it because it was home? Or was it because it was the last place Mom had been alive? I didn't have an answer. When I pulled into the driveway, there was an unfamiliar car parked there. Expensive. German. Probably Brenda's. Inside, I found them all in the living room. Dad, Brenda, and a man in a suit I didn't recognize. He stood when I entered. Emma Walsh? He extended his hand. Richard Pemberton. I'm your father's attorney. I didn't shake his hand. Just looked at my father. Really? We're doing this now? Mr. Pemberton suggested we have an informal conversation, Dad said. Before things get adversarial. How thoughtful. Pemberton cleared his throat. Ms. Walsh, I understand this is an emotional situation. But I think if we all approach this rationally, we can find a solution that benefits everyone. I have an attorney, I said. Anything you want to say should go through him? Of course. But surely there's no harm in talking. We're all family here. I almost laughed. Are we? Dad flinched. Good. My client is prepared to be very generous, Pemberton continued, undeterred. He's willing to offer you 60% of the sale price. That's over $500,000, Ms. Walsh. More than your legal share. I sat down on the arm of the couch. In exchange for what? Your agreement to list the house immediately. We have a buyer interested. A developer looking to renovate and flip. They're prepared to pay cash, close in 30 days. A developer. Yes. They see great potential in the property. To tear it down, you mean? Knock it down and build something new. Pemberton smiled blandly. What they do with it after purchase isn't our concern. The point is, you'd walk away with significant funds. Enough to start fresh wherever you'd like. I looked at my father. He was staring at the floor. So you found a buyer before you even told me you wanted to sell, I said. How long has this been in the works, Dad? He didn't answer. Months, Brenda said. She said it proudly, like she was pleased with herself. We've been planning this for months. The Arizona house. The sale. Everything. Brenda, Dad said quietly. Warning. But she ignored him. We were trying to make it easy for you, Emma. Give you a clean break. Instead, you're making everything complicated. I'm making it complicated? You were going to sell my home without telling me. It's not your home, it literally is. Legally. My mother made sure of that. Brenda's face hardened. Your mother is dead. Robert is alive. And he gets to make choices about his own life. The room went silent. Dad finally looked up. Brenda, that's enough. No, it's not. Someone needs to say it. Katie isn't here anymore. You are. Emma is. And clinging to the past isn't healthy for anyone. Don't, I said quietly. Don't you dare talk about my mother. Why not? Because she's sacred? Because Robert's supposed to spend the rest of his life mourning her? He's allowed to be happy again, Emma. He's allowed to want a different life. I never said he wasn't. Then let him have it. Not at my expense. I was on my feet now. So was she. We were facing each other across the coffee table like fighters in a ring. Ms. Walsh, Ms. Mitchell, please. Pemberton held up his hands. This isn't productive. Let's all calm down and get out, I said. Excuse me? I said get out. This is my house. Half of it is mine. And I'm not having this conversation with you here. Pemberton looked at my father. Mr. Walsh? Dad stood slowly. Emma, please. Let's just talk about this. We can talk. At a formal meeting. With my attorney present. But right now, I want all of you to leave. This is my house too, Dad said. Then go to your room. But they, I pointed at Pemberton and Brenda, need to leave. Emma, now, Dad. Or I call the police and have them removed for trespassing. It was a bluff. I had no idea if I could actually do that. But I said it with enough conviction that Pemberton picked up his briefcase. I think it's best if we continue this discussion another time, he said smoothly. Mr. Walsh, I'll call you tomorrow. Ms. Walsh, I look forward to speaking with your attorney. He left. Brenda lingered, looking at my father like she expected him to do something. Stand up for her. Defend her. He didn't. Just stood there, looking old and tired and sad. Fine, Brenda said finally. I'll be at the hotel. Call me when you're ready to have an adult conversation. She grabbed her purse and walked out. The door didn't slam, but the silence after it closed was loud enough. Dad and I stood there, not looking at each other. I didn't want it to be like this, he said finally. Then why is it? Because you won't listen to reason. No, Dad. Because you lied to me. You made plans behind my back. You were going to erase me from your life like I never existed. That's not, he stopped. Sat down heavily in his chair. I wasn't trying to erase you. Then what were you trying to do? He was quiet for a long time. Then, I was trying to escape. The honesty surprised me. I sat down too. Escape what? This. All of this. The memories. The guilt. Every corner of this house reminds me of your mother. Every room has her in it. I can't keep living with her ghost. His voice broke on the last word. I saw tears in his eyes. Moving away won't change that, I said gently. She'll still be gone. You'll still miss her. I know. But maybe if I'm somewhere new, somewhere she never was, maybe I can breathe again. Maybe I can stop feeling like I failed her. Failed her how? I couldn't save her. The cancer. I couldn't do anything. I just had to watch her die. I felt my own tears starting. Dad, that wasn't your fault. And then the stroke. Being helpless again. Having you take care of me like I was a child. Do you know how that felt? How humiliating that was. I never thought of it that way. I know you didn't. You were so patient. So kind. But every day you helped me, every time you had to do something I should have been able to do myself, it reminded me that I'm old. I'm weak. I'm not the man I used to be. You're still my father. Am I? Because sometimes I look at you and all I see is everything I've lost. Your mother. My health. My independence. And I hate myself for feeling that way, but I do. We sat in silence. The afternoon light was fading. Soon it would be dark. Brenda doesn't remind you of that, I said. It wasn't a question. No. She sees me differently. Not as the man who's broken. As someone who can still have adventures. Still have a future. Do you love her? He thought about it. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe I love the idea of starting over. Of being someone new. You can do that without selling the house. Can I? Every morning I wake up here, I remember. Your mother making coffee. The way she'd open all the windows to let fresh air in. How she'd sing while she cooked. This house is full of her, Emma. And I can't. I need to let her go. I understood then. Really understood. This wasn't about money or Brenda or even me. This was about a man who was drowning in grief and didn't know how to swim. What if? I started. Stopped. Tried again. What if you moved out, but we didn't sell? Not right away. Give it some time. Live in Arizona with Brenda. See if that's really what you want. And if after a year you still want to sell, we'll talk about it then. He shook his head. I can't afford 2 properties. The house in Arizona isn't cheap. I'll buy out part of your share. Enough to give you the down payment. The rest we can figure out later. That's not fair to you. Fair isn't the point anymore, Dad. The point is finding a way forward that doesn't destroy everything. He looked at me. Really looked at me. When did you get so wise? When I had to take care of a stubborn old man who wouldn't take his medications on time. He smiled. It was small, but real. I have been pretty stubborn, haven't I? Runs in the family. We sat there as darkness filled the room. Neither of us got up to turn on the lights. I'm sorry, he said finally. For last night. For all of it. Michael thought we were doing the right thing. Michael's an idiot. Dad laughed. Actually laughed. He means well. He means well for himself. That too. My phone buzzed. A text from David, heard from Pemberton. He says talks broke down. Everything okay? I texted back, fine. May have a different solution. Call you tomorrow. Emma, Dad said. This idea of yours. Buying me out partially. How would that work? I don't know yet. But we can figure it out. With lawyers. Properly. The way we should have done from the start. Brenda's not going to like it. Brenda doesn't get a vote. She's going to be my wife. That stopped me. You're marrying her? I was planning to. In Arizona. After the sale. Dad, I know what you think of her. And maybe you're right to be suspicious. But she makes me feel alive again. Is that so terrible? I wanted to tell him yes. I wanted to show him the articles I'd found. The evidence that Brenda was exactly what I thought she was. But looking at his face, at the hope there mixed with the fear, I couldn't do it. Just be careful, I said instead. Please. Don't rush into anything. I'm 65 years old, sweetheart. I don't have time to go slow. You have more time than you think. He reached over and squeezed my hand. His skin was thin, papery. When had he gotten so old? Let me think about your proposal, he said. Talk it over with Pemberton. See if it's even possible. Okay. And Emma? Whatever happens, I want you to know, I do love you. Even if I'm terrible at showing it. I know, Dad. He stood up slowly, using the armrest for support. I'm going to call Brenda. Let her know I'm staying here tonight. Then I think I'll go to bed. It's been a long day. Good night, Dad. Good night, sweetheart. He left. I heard his footsteps on the stairs. The creak of his bedroom door closing. I sat there in the dark for a long time. My phone buzzed again. Multiple texts. Michael, Dad called. Says you two talked. Don't think this changes anything. Aunt Carol, your father called me. He sounds better. Less stressed. Whatever you did, it helped. David, free tomorrow afternoon if you want to discuss strategy. And one more. From a number I didn't recognize, this isn't over. You got lucky today. But Robert is going to Arizona with me, and you're not going to stop that. Back off or you'll regret it. Be Brenda. I stared at the message. The threat was clear. I should have been scared. Or angry. But all I felt was tired. I deleted the message without responding and went upstairs. My room felt smaller than usual. Suffocating. I opened the window, let the cold air rush in. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet. Lights on in windows. Families having dinner. Living their normal lives while mine fell apart. I pulled out my laptop and opened the research folder. Looked at Brenda's divorce records again. Her ex-husband's statement. Vulnerable individuals. Then I did something I'd been avoiding. I called him. It took some digging to find the number, his business line, publicly listed. I didn't expect him to answer on a Sunday evening. But he did. Gerald Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell, I'm sorry to bother you. My name is Emma Walsh. I'm calling about your ex-wife, Brenda. Silence. Then, what did she do now? She's dating my father. They're planning to get married. A long sigh. Of course she is. Let me guess, widower. Recent health crisis? Owns property? All of the above. Then I'm sorry for you. And for him. Mr. Mitchell, I need to ask you something. The quote in the divorce article. About vulnerable individuals. What did you mean by that? Another pause. Are you calling to threaten legal action? Because if so, you should know, no. Nothing like that. I need to know what I'm dealing with. Why should I tell you anything? Because I think you tried to warn people. And I think you wish someone had listened. And I'm listening now. I heard him exhale. You sound like someone who actually cares about her father. That's refreshing. I do care. That's why I'm calling. All right. But this stays between us. I don't need any more drama. Agreed. Brenda has a pattern. She targets men going through transitions. Divorce, death of a spouse, health problems. Men who are emotionally vulnerable and financially secure. She presents herself as a support system. A companion. Someone who understands. My stomach dropped. And then? Then she isolates them from their families. Gradually. Nothing obvious at first. Just suggestions. Your kids don't appreciate you. Your siblings are using you. Small seeds of doubt. That sounds familiar. Once she's established herself as the only person they can trust, she starts making plans. Big plans. Expensive plans. And somehow, those plans always require accessing their assets. What happened with you? I caught her forging my signature on loan documents. She was trying to refinance one of our investment properties without my knowledge. When I confronted her, she claimed she was trying to surprise me. Planning a dream vacation. Complete bullshit, obviously. What was she really doing? Trying to access equity to pay off her personal credit cards. I found out later she was in debt. Deep. Shopping addiction, online gambling, I don't know. She hid it well. I wrote notes as he talked. How much debt? Over 200,000 when I discovered it. Could be more now. The thing is, Brenda lives beyond her means. Always has. She needs to maintain an image. The clothes, the jewelry, the lifestyle. It's all a performance. Did she ever get violent? Threatening? Not physically. But she'd use emotional manipulation. Gaslighting. She'd make you feel like you were crazy for questioning her. And if that didn't work, she'd play the victim. Tell our friends I was controlling, abusive even. Complete lies, but people believed her because she's very, very good at what she does. Mr. Mitchell, thank you for telling me this. Don't thank me. Just protect your father. And yourself. Document everything. Get copies of all financial records. Watch for her trying to get added to accounts or deeds. And whatever you do, don't let her separate him from you completely. She's already trying. Then fight back. Because men like your father, grief-stricken, recovering from trauma, they can't see clearly. They need someone to protect them from themselves. We talked for another 10 minutes. He gave me more details. Names of people Brenda had manipulated. Patterns to watch for. Warning signs. When we finally hung up, I had pages of notes. And I had a plan. I spent the next 2 days preparing. Gathering documents. Pulling bank statements. Making phone calls. I worked quietly, methodically, not telling Dad what I was doing. He kept to himself mostly. Went out to meet Brenda for lunch. Came back quiet, pensive. We didn't talk about the house. We didn't talk about much of anything. On Tuesday morning, I had my meeting with David. His office was in a renovated warehouse downtown. Clean lines, exposed brick, expensive furniture. Success looked good on him. Emma, he said, gesturing to a chair. You look like hell. Thanks. Always know I can count on you for honesty. He smiled. What's going on? Your father's attorney has been calling me daily. He's pushing hard for a quick sale. I know. But I have some information that might change things. I laid out everything I'd learned about Brenda. The divorce. The debt. The pattern of targeting vulnerable men. Gerald Mitchell's statement. All of it. David listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. This is good, he said. Really good. But Emma, we have to be careful how we use it. What do you mean? I mean your father is an adult. He's allowed to make bad decisions. Even if Brenda is everything you say she is, we can't legally prevent him from being with her. But we can prevent her from stealing from him. Can we? He hasn't given her access to anything yet, as far as we know. And if she's smart, which it sounds like she is, she won't do anything obviously illegal. So what do I do? David thought for a moment. We have two options. 1. We present this information to your father privately. Try to convince him to slow down. Do a prenup at minimum. Hope he listens to reason. He won't. He's convinced she loves him. Then option 2. We use the house situation to buy time. Drag out the negotiations. Make it difficult for him to access funds quickly. If Brenda's pattern holds, she'll eventually slip up. Show her true colors. How long will that take? Months, maybe. Maybe longer. Can you handle that? Living in the same house, maintaining the stalemate? I thought about it. About months of tension. Awkward dinners. Silent mornings. But also about my father's safety. Yeah, I said. I can handle it. Okay. Then here's what we do. We propose a complicated buyout agreement. One that requires appraisals, legal reviews, financial planning. We add clauses about future profits if the house sells above a certain price. We make it so legally complex that it takes time to sort out. That feels manipulative. It is. But you're protecting your father from someone who wants to manipulate him worse. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. My father's going to hate me. Maybe. For a while. But when this is over, when he sees what Brenda really is, he'll understand. And if I'm wrong? If she really does love him? David shrugged. Then you'll have wasted some time and money on legal fees. But you'll still have your home and your father will still have his assets. That's not the worst outcome. He was right. I knew he was right. Draft the proposal, I said. Make it as complicated as legally possible. Done. I'll have it ready by end of week. I stood to leave, but David stopped me. Emma? One more thing. You need to prepare yourself for the possibility that your father chooses Brenda over you. Even after he knows the truth. Some people would rather believe a comfortable lie than face an uncomfortable reality. I know. But I didn't, really. I couldn't imagine my father doing that. Not after everything we'd been through. I should have listened to David's warning. That night, Dad asked me to come into the living room. He and Brenda were sitting together on the couch. She had her hand on his knee, possessive. Emma, sit down, Dad said. We need to talk. I sat. Waited. I've thought about your proposal, he continued. The partial buyout. And I appreciate the gesture. But Brenda and I have discussed it, and we don't think it's the right solution. Of course they had discussed it. What do you think is the right solution? I asked. Brenda answered. A clean break. Robert sells the house, takes his half, moves to Arizona. You take your half and build your own life. No lingering ties. No complications. Except this is my home. It's a house, Emma. Just a building. You're attaching too much emotion to it. My mother died in that room upstairs. Every memory I have of my childhood is in these walls. It's not just a building. Your mother is dead, Brenda said flatly. And you need to accept that and move on. Just like Robert has. Dad shifted uncomfortably but didn't contradict her. Is that what you think, Dad? That I need to move on? I think. He paused. I think maybe Brenda has a point. You've been stuck here for 3 years. Maybe forcing you out is actually helping you. I felt like I'd been slapped. Forcing me out is helping me? You gave up your career to take care of me. And I'm grateful. But now I'm better. And you need to restart your life. So you're doing this for my benefit? Partially, yes. I laughed. It came out bitter. That's bullshit and you know it. Emma, no, Dad. You don't get to pretend this is about me. You want to sell because Brenda wants you to sell. Because she's convinced you that starting over means erasing your past. But you can't erase Mom. And you can't erase me. Brenda stood up. I think this conversation is over. I wasn't talking to you. This is exactly why Robert needs space from you. You're toxic. Clinging. You make everything about your pain instead of thinking about what he needs. What he needs? You mean what you need. Money. Security. A retirement funded by someone else's assets. Her face hardened. How dare you? I talked to Gerald. The room went silent. Brenda's expression didn't change, but I saw her hands clench. Who, she said. Your ex-husband. He told me some very interesting things about your pattern of targeting vulnerable men. That man is a liar. He made my life hell during our divorce. He showed me documentation. Forged signatures. Hidden debt. A long history of financial manipulation. Dad stood up. Emma, that's enough. Is it? Dad, do you know about her debt? The credit cards she maxed out? The $200,000 she owes? That's none of your business, Brenda said. It is when she's planning to marry my father and access his assets. Robert, I won't sit here and be attacked, then leave, I said. Get out of my house. Emma. Dad's voice was sharp. Angry. Apologize. Right now. For what? For protecting you? For being cruel and disrespectful. Whatever problems Brenda had in her previous marriage are her past. We all have pasts. Or do you want me to bring up your divorce? The way your ex-husband said you were emotionally unavailable and cold? That stopped me. He'd never mentioned that before. Never thrown my failed marriage in my face. That's different, I said quietly. How? How is it different? Because I'm not trying to steal someone's money. And neither is Brenda. She loves me. Why can't you accept that? Because it's not true. Dad, please, look at the evidence. I don't need evidence. I trust her. Unlike you, apparently, I'm capable of trusting someone. The words hit like bullets. Each one finding a mark. Brenda put her hand on Dad's arm. Robert, let's go. We don't need to stay here and listen to this. You're right. He looked at me, and his eyes were cold. Emma, I'm going to pack a bag. I'll be staying at Brenda's hotel for the foreseeable future. And I think it's best if we keep our distance until you can be civil. Dad, wait, I'm done waiting. I'm done letting you control my life. You had your mother's manipulation, and now you think you can do the same to me. But I'm not going to live in fear and guilt anymore. That's not what I'm doing, but he was already walking upstairs. Brenda followed him, but not before turning to me with a smile. You lose, she said softly. Triumphantly. You pushed too hard and now you've lost him. Hope it was worth it. She went upstairs. I heard drawers opening. Zippers. Low voices. I sat there, stunned. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I was supposed to show him the truth, and he was supposed to see it. He was supposed to thank me for protecting him. Instead, I'd driven him away. 15 minutes later, they came back down. Dad had a suitcase. He wouldn't look at me. Dad, please. Can we just talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. My attorney will contact yours about the sale. I expect this to proceed quickly. And if I don't agree? Then we'll go to court. And I'll win. You're a 50% owner, Dad. You can't force the sale without my consent. Actually, Brenda said sweetly, there are legal mechanisms for forcing the sale of jointly owned properties when parties can't agree. It's called a partition action. Look it up. She was right. I knew she was right because I'd researched it myself. That'll take years, I said. And cost a fortune in legal fees. Then agree to the sale and save us all the trouble. Dad picked up his suitcase. Goodbye, Emma. Dad, wait. Please. But he walked out. The door closed behind them. I heard the car start. Heard it pull out of the driveway. And then I was alone. I sat there until it got dark. Until the house was completely silent around me. Then I called David. Emma? It's almost 10, he left. I told him about Brenda's past, and he left. I heard David curse softly. Okay. Okay, this isn't ideal, but it's not the end of the world, he's going to force the sale. She told him about partition actions. Of course she did. Emma, listen to me. I need to what? I've lost. She won. You haven't lost. This is what she wanted. To isolate him. To turn him against you. But it doesn't change the legal situation. You still own half that house. What good does that do if I lose my father in the process? David was quiet for a moment. Do you want to give up? Did I? It would be easier. Sign the papers. Take the money. Move back to Seattle. Pretend the last 3 years never happened. But every time I thought about doing that, I saw my mother's face. Heard her voice. You've got this, baby girl. No, I said. I don't want to give up. Then we fight. Smarter this time. We don't attack Brenda directly. We focus on the legal issues. Make the sale as difficult and time-consuming as possible. And we wait for her to make a mistake. What if she doesn't? She will. People like Brenda always do. They get impatient. They push too hard. And when she does, we'll be ready. How long? As long as it takes. I hung up and walked through the house. It felt huge now. Empty. Every room echoed. I ended up in the kitchen. Opened the cabinet where Mom kept her cookbooks. Pulled out the old recipe box, handwritten cards in her neat script. There was a note tucked in the back. I'd never seen it before. My dear Emma, it read. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone and something has happened that made you need guidance. I want you to know that whatever choice you make, I'm proud of you. You've always had a strong heart and a clear head. Trust yourself. Trust what you know is right. And remember, family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up. Who fight for you. Who love you even when it's hard. Your father loves you, even if he forgets sometimes. Be patient with him. But also be strong. Don't let anyone make you small. You're my daughter. You're capable of anything. Love always, Mom. I read it 3 times. Folded it carefully. Put it in my pocket. Then I started planning. If Brenda wanted a war, I'd give her one. But I'd fight smart. Strategic. I'd use every legal tool available. And I'd make sure that when this was over, my father would know exactly what he'd almost lost. The next morning, I called Michael. "What now?" he answered. "I need your help." Silence. "Then, you've got to be kidding me." Dad moved out. He's staying with Brenda. He's going to file for a partition action to force the sale. Good. Maybe now we can all move on with our lives. Michael, I talked to Brenda's ex-husband. She's in massive debt. She has a history of targeting vulnerable men for their money. Dad is walking into a trap. Jesus Christ, Emma, do you hear yourself? You sound paranoid. I have documentation. Financial records. Testimony from multiple people she's scammed. Or you have the bitter words of an ex-husband who lost a divorce. How is that credible? Because it fits a pattern. Because everything she's done since she met Dad has been calculated to separate him from his assets. Assets? What assets? A house and a retirement account? That's not exactly fortune hunter territory. It is for someone who's $200,000 in debt. Michael sighed. Even if everything you're saying is true, which I doubt, it's Dad's choice. He's an adult. He can date who he wants. What about a prenup? Can you at least talk to him about that? If they're really in love, she shouldn't mind protecting his assets. Why would I do that? You're the one causing all the problems. Because he's our father, Michael. And someone needs to protect him since he won't protect himself. From the woman who makes him happy? No thanks. I'm not playing your games. This isn't a game, everything's a game to you. Everything's a competition. You couldn't win Dad's affection by taking care of him, so now you're trying to win by tearing down his relationship. That's not, save it. I'm done with this conversation. I'm done with you. When the house sells, take your money and go live your life somewhere far away from the rest of us. He hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone. No allies. No support. Just me against all of them. Fine. I'd been alone before. I spent the rest of the day implementing phase 1 of my plan. I contacted a different attorney, someone who specialized in elder law and financial exploitation. Her name was Margaret Chen, no relation to David. She had a reputation for being ruthless and effective. "Tell me everything," she said when I met with her that afternoon. I did. All of it. The timeline. The red flags. Gerald Mitchell's testimony. Brenda's debt. The rushed engagement. Everything. Margaret took notes, her expression unreadable. "Here's my assessment," she said finally. "Your father is not technically incompetent. He's not suffering from dementia or cognitive impairment. A court would likely find him capable of making his own decisions. But, she continued, there are some concerning elements here. The rushed timeline. The financial pressure. The isolation from family. If we can establish a pattern of undue influence, we might be able to intervene." How? "We file for a temporary injunction preventing any major financial transactions. We argue that your father is being subjected to manipulation and coercion. We force a competency evaluation. That'll destroy my relationship with him. Probably. But it'll also protect his assets. Emma, you need to decide what's more important, your relationship or his financial security." I thought about it. Really thought about it. Both, I said finally. I want both. Then we need to be smarter. We need Brenda to expose herself. And we need evidence that will hold up in court. What kind of evidence? Margaret smiled. It wasn't a nice smile.